Hi, welcome to this episode of Industry Voice. Today, we have Jeff Pireu on the podcast with us. How are you, Jeff?
Good, Jeff. How are you doing?
Good. For those of the audience that don't know, Jeff and I, we have actually known each other for a while now in the insurance and the insurtech community. And Jeff's background, it's a long time in nationwide insurance on the carrier side and did a lot of various things from sales side to the new agent program side. And then Jeff had a couple other things with Edge, and now he is with First Choice on MarshBerry company. So today
Correct.
I'm gonna turn it over to Jeff, and Jeff, give us a background about your experience in the insurance world and your pivot in the distribution world. And I'm gonna let our audience hear everything you have done in the last 30 years of
Years.
insurance. Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun. Thanks, Jeff. One, and thanks for having me on. I mean, it's great to be on here and connect a little bit. And so, probably like a lot of people, I fell into insurance. So, I mean, it goes all the way back. When I was in college, I was lucky enough to have an internship with Nationwide on the claim side. About a year after I graduated college is when I got back on board with Nationwide kind of full time. So, started in property claims. Did everything from small loss to large loss. Spent about 8 years on the claim side. So everything from handling losses to moving into leadership. Spent a little bit of times running our claims training organization on the property side. And then that started kind of my travel journey with Nationwide. So moved down to Gainesville, Florida, in our regional office down there, and really focused on claims in Florida, helping us kind of clean up all the hurricanes we had in 2004. So was in that role for about 18 months before making that journey into sales. And it was kind of one of those things. Initially, it was like, gosh, do I want to move into a sales role? And loved every second of it once I moved into sales. So had a leader, took a shot at bringing me over into that space, and loved it. Kind of worked in Florida on the sales side of kind of transitioning the nationwide agents to independent. So I was part of that project down in Florida, and then kind of grew up on the independent side with Nationwide with Allied Insurance. So as a sales leader, and then continued kind of moving around the country a little bit. So I was in Florida for about almost 6 years, was in Atlanta for a couple of years before moving back to kind of home, which was Ohio. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio now, and had a number of roles with Nationwide. Initially moved back, had a role. You mentioned the new agent program, so I was an executive leader with Nationwide, kind of heading up the executive or the new agent programs, kind of the building those out, the administrations of it, and then did that for about almost a year, and then moved over to was asked to lead the Nationwide Sales Academy. So built that up. It was kind of all the sales training for our agents, sales leaders, and built that program up, that organization up before kind of going back out into the field as an executive sales leader. So truly enjoyed that space. Was out in the field for about 12 years as an executive sales leader, working in a number of kind of regional alignments from Midwest to Mid-Atlantic, Central Atlantic. So states really from kind of Indiana all the way over to the coast and then south to Tennessee. But met a ton of great people from that aspect. I think it's when our paths first crossed, and working with some great agencies throughout all those areas, great sales leaders, and then left Nationwide, and gosh, it was 2 years this past July when I finally left the organization and kind of made the choice to do something a little bit different, and kind of got into that startup space with Edge. So I went over to Edge working for Ifywalla, and was a VP of strategic partnerships for them, starting to build out their strategic partnerships and kind of the three verticals they play in from that remote employee standpoint. So they were in insurance and medical and dental, and then was there for about a year before coming on with First Choice. So obviously knew First Choice from my time at Nationwide, knew it was a great organization, knew MarshBerry obviously as well from my time in the insurance industry, and was excited to have the opportunity to come on board with them, and was initially kind of running the Southeast region, and then moved into strategic partnerships, a VP of strategic partnership role here January 1st, and building that out for the organization now. 30 years, it's hard to
Um,
believe it's been 30 years. I mean, there's a lot of different roles and opportunities throughout all that, and I kind of enjoyed all of it.
yeah. So now I'm diving into questions, right?
Yeah.
And in industry voice is we're trying to bring voice to people working in all kind of various roles in your industry. And whether you're an insurance agent or you work for carriers, whenever they see a role, they probably have questions like, what does that person do, right? So can you go into your role as vice president of strategic partnerships and what do your day-to-day look like if somebody was like, hey, you know what? I need to get a hold of First Choice or Marsh, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, they look on LinkedIn, they're trying to figure out who's the right person to talk to,
Yeah.
right? What does your role look like day to day? And how are you approached by First Choice, and give us a little bit of background on that one.
Yeah, so my day to day, it's funny. So I've got, if you look at my role as VP of Strategic Partnerships, I really have kind of two areas of focus, and one is really building out our strategic partner strategy. So if you look at tech vendors, service vendors, what is our strategy in this organization to partner with organizations like that, and to really, with the goal of bringing value to our members. So that's kind of the biggest focus of that space is, and I kind of use a three-legged stool analogy. So from a strategic partnership standpoint, my goal with the program as we build it out is how are we bringing value to our strategic partner, um, likewise to our member, and then likewise back to First Choice and MarshBerry. If you're building a strong partnership and a deep relationship, all three of those legs of that stool are going to work. It's going to stand, all that kind of stuff. If one of those legs isn't working, that stool doesn't stand up. So it's really focused on really trying to build out a strong structure to bring value to our strategic partners. Strategic partnerships gets thrown out a lot, and I mean, I kind of almost hate the terminology a little bit because I mean, it's typically when you sign up a partnership, you go to a conference, you get a member list, and there's not much more than that. So we're trying to build a lot more value into our partnership strategy, so that value is going all the way around, and working to get the partners in front of our members more, and vice versa, just so everybody's getting value out of it. We can build a deep relationship out of it. So that's that's a big area of focus day to day. Ton of conversations with strategic partners, potential strategic partners, trying to share the value of MarshBerry and First Choice, as well as finding out more about them to make sure that there's value for our members as well from that space. So a lot of focus in that area and a lot of conversations. And so far, we're having a lot of success with it. So we've got a lot of strategic partners on board. A lot of interest in, obviously, in First Choice. I mean, we just got named the #1 insurance partnership by Insurance Journal, for the second year in a row. So that's obviously helped a lot with my role. Makes it a lot easier where folks want to reach out and talk to you.
What is it like to have to be on this side and when you're nationwide, you're on the other side of it, right? Like
Yeah,
you're basically on the carrier side, right? And
yeah.
now you're on the distribution side. For those of the listener out there, if they ever think about making that kind of transition, right, leaving the carrier side and then go to the other side, what would they be looking at? What was the biggest change for you?
Wow. Yeah, for me, so I mean, the first thing to throw out, it's a lot of fun. It was a big jump and a big change, especially when you're at one spot for your whole career. 26 years at Nationwide. Not that you get set in your ways, but that's kind of all you know. It's what you know. And I think from a carrier standpoint, your focus is linear. So it's kind of, all right, obviously you're worried about your agencies and your partnerships there, but your main focus is obviously the carrier. So it was always Nationwide, and all right, how do I help Nationwide grow? How do I help them stay profitable? Things like that. Switching over to First Choice, it's initially there was a big learning curve, because not now, I mean, we've got 85 carriers we partner with. So you're not just focused on one carrier. You've got 85 carriers. You've got to learn how they operate, their appetites, how they partner up with agencies and things like that. But for me, the bigger benefit has been working on the agency side and working with our members. It's just a different approach. It's more of, I don't want to say a positive approach, but it just feels we're there to consult, we're there to help. And I think you're influencing agencies in a different way. And I think that has been very rewarding from my perspective.
When you think about influencing agency, right? We're talking about adoption of insurtech. That's a subject I want to get into. You and I, we live in a world where we're connected to all the insurance community, right?
Yeah.
Distribution and carrier side. At the same time, we're also getting exposures, a lot of exposures through, you being in Columbus, Ohio, right? And also just the insurtech world, the insurtech events, right? And then we have all these new vendor software companies that's coming up every single year, right? In the insurtech community.
Yeah.
And then their main customers are agents, right? So how do you filter out so many new products that's aiming at now their target market is B2B, is the insurance agents. And, it's a lot of day-to-day filtering. I'm sure you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And is agents at first choice, or the agents you talk to on a daily basis, are they really adapting to these new technology that's coming out? Thank you for watching this video. Now a quick message from our sponsor, Mav.
Thanks, Jeff. I want to let you all in on a secret that top producing agencies don't want you to know about. If you're in P&C insurance, you know firsthand how much you're getting squeezed by your call center. It's becoming less predictable and less economically profitable to scale. But here's the thing. The top producing agencies making over $100 million are not running their leads through a human-based call center. They're running them through an AI expert like Mav to qualify, quote, and hand deliver the highest intent qualified leads to your agents. Mav takes care of the back and forth, having unlimited 24/7 conversations with your leads that are personal and relevant so you can scale to the moon. Ready to ditch your call center and 10x your agency? We're giving the listeners of insurtech $15,000 worth of credit to try Mav. Head to hiremav.com/insurtech to claim this offer.
Jeff, that's a great question. And I mean, I would tell you that's probably one of our biggest areas of focus right now, especially as we're building out strategic partnerships, is it's exciting. I mean, go back 10 years and look at the technology and where it was at in the insurance industry compared to today. I mean, it's just changed leaps and bounds. And it's 5 years from now, it's going to be even farther along. And I think that's probably, as I talk to agencies out there, it's probably one of the biggest challenges that they have is there's so much coming at them. And it's how do they work through it? How do they fight through all the noise to figure out what is the right tech and tech stack to have in their agency? And one of the first things I throw out to them and ask them is, okay, the technology you have today, don't even worry about what else is out there. Are you using the technology that you have in your agency today? And are you using it right? And it's like that to me is like step one of, are they utilizing everything to its fullest that they have in their agency? And then they can start to look at other stuff to figure out how it can help support and supplement it and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest issues is agencies aren't even utilizing all their technology. So it's utilizing everything to the fullest and then figuring out, okay, what gaps do I have? What processes do I need support on and help like that? And then identifying that other technology that's out there, because there's a ton of great stuff coming out, identifying it and figuring out how they can implement it into their agency and their processes and all that kind of stuff. I think the other, and I'm sure you see this all the time too, the other big thing I see too is there's a ton of agencies that they're always going after the shiny new object. And it's like they're constantly going after new technology and they're bringing it in, and okay, within a year they're getting rid of it or they're going to something else because it's not working or it's doesn't seem to fit my agency. And part of it is they don't have the right processes in place to make sure they're integrating it right with their current tech. They're training their staff, making sure their staff's using it right. So I mean, I think you got to have those good processes in place to make sure that you're using what you're bringing on board the right way and giving it time to work.
Yeah, I definitely think there's twofold. One is there's agents who are not adopting, and then there's agents who
Yeah.
are over adopting, but constantly chasing a new thing. And they learn 20-25% the capability of a CRM, of a software,
Yeah.
and versus over time, being really refined and drill into using one tool really, really well. Yeah, but I definitely have seen a change the last couple of years in a amount of software insurtech companies aiming to help agents solve solutions
Agree.
versus it seemed like 6, 7 years ago, everything was about replacing the agents, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's getting better and better. It seems like every piece of technology that comes out has more open APIs and it integrates better with stuff that's out there. And I mean, I think that part is huge because heck, you can bring on 10 new pieces of technology, but if none of them are talking to each other, it's just creating more work for your agency. So it's finding that stuff that's going to kind of integrate with each other, that's going to support each other. And from a partnership standpoint, that's one of the key pieces that we look at is a lot of great new tech that's out there. One is, all right, how many agents are you working with? How tested is it? That kind of stuff. We want to make sure that it's at a certain level before we take it out to our members. But then the other piece too is, what does the open API look like? Does it integrate with other software? Because that's the last thing we want to do too, is one, take out a new piece of tech that hasn't been really tested yet in the marketplace, but then also doesn't integrate with other software there or technology that's out there, and it's just going to make life harder on the agency.
One question I thought about, have you looked across the landscape to all of the first choice competitors to see how many of them have the same role as they do for you at first choice?
We haven't. I haven't. I mean, if you look at all the different networks and groups that are out there, I mean, they all have different partnerships and discounts and all that with vendors. Do they have a role like mine that solely focuses on strategic partnerships and those relationships and vendors to try to make them more successful? I don't know on that, but I mean, from our perspective, we think that's a huge value add of trying to build that out.
Huge.
And so far, the feedback I've gotten from our strategic partners has been huge too, of having that focus and trying to bring a structure to this process.
Yeah, I mean, the aggregator world, there's SIA, Agency Collective, Keystone, right? And Smart Choice. And then you have your franchise world, which I'm looking at the top 20 list by Insurance Journal. You have Brightway, Goosehead, WeInsure. And I'm just wondering, like, A, do they have a role like you or similar, trying to find the latest software to improve their agency performance, return on investments? And B, imagine if you have 2 or 3 or 4 more Jeff all in the room together, and then everybody is literally like sharing, right? Giver, in giver mode and talking about the things, the latest thing, the latest project they're adapting to, they're working on. And if the sole purpose goal, not zero-sum game, but if the sole purpose goal is helping industry moving forward and helping each other move forward, that would be a dynamic webinar or meeting, or mastermind, whatever you want to call that. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, that would be beneficial. I mean, I would love to participate in that. And one of the things we've built internally is we have a technology council. It's about 10 of our, I would say, most technologically savvy agencies. And we get together monthly with them, and we literally will throw out a couple topics to get the conversation going. And then we sit back and literally our minds get blown when you just hear the agencies start to talk about the technology they're using, the processes they have in place. And all of them are different. They're all using technology in a different way, which makes those conversations even better of what they're learning from each other. But that's been a huge boon for me in the sense of being able to take a lot of that information, some of the organizations that they're partnering with, and just that's how we've kind of built out some of our strategic partnerships as well. It's almost become a vetting ground for us.
That is a really smart idea. Do you guys do that in person, I'm assuming?
Periodically, we're trying to get together in person. I mean, most, because they're all over the country right now. So it's most of those meetings are virtual.
Gotcha. Yeah, simpler, quicker, faster.
Yeah.
Do a virtual meeting.
Been fun. I mean, this is such a growing space in the industry. And I mean, there's just more and more stuff. I mean, I was at AppliedNet a couple of weeks ago and literally just going to the trade show just to prospect potential partners and meet new tech partners and stuff like that. And it's pretty, I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty neat, the new organizations that are coming out in the technology in the space that's coming out that wouldn't have been there 5 years ago, wouldn't have been there 10 years ago. And it's going to get even more advanced.
And when you do find a new partner, right? Hypothetically, let's just say software iOS, right?
Yeah.
And software iOS is a new product that just came out. And do you guys run a pilot program with your top adopting agents and then decide to roll out to the rest of the field, or how does that work?
Yeah, so our kind of the first process we go through is really getting to know that technology as well as we can, knowing that an agent's going to have a better understanding of it as they implement it in their agency. So we get to know the organization, get to know them well. Like I mentioned before, how many agents are they working with? How far along are they? Is there any overlap with, a MarshBerry or First Choice agency? So we'll try to figure that out so we can get some testimonials and things like that. And then kind of based on those results and answers, we will roll it out to our tech council. Like we'll do a demo with our tech council, get their input, get their perspectives on things, and then kind of make a strategy and game plan moving forward from there. So some of the partners, because we get good feedback either from agencies that are using it today or from our tech council, will work on moving kind of forward with a partnership right away. And others will, maybe put on pause for a little bit and just set up kind of a follow-up strategy with them to figure out, okay, when do we want to talk to them again to see how far they've come along in advance? Do they come to our conference to see what kind of feedback and input they'll get from our members, things like that. So we'll just kind of create that strategy of when's the right time to look at a partnership and move forward.
Talk a little bit about the conference. What does a First Choice MarshBerry conference look like? Thank you for all your support to our channel. Here is a quick word from our sponsor. Please click on the link below in the comment section to sign up for a demo with Track AI.
What if your insurance sales conversations could work harder for you? Meet Track, your AI-powered conversation intelligence partner. Track automatically captures and analyzes every customer interaction, providing instant call summaries, risk analysis, and AI-driven coaching insights. Say goodbye to manual note-taking and hello to more selling time. Track handles the admin work while you handle the revenue. Fully integrated with your favorite platforms. Plus, get custom AI analysis tailored to your unique business needs. Transform your sales team's performance with Track. Visit track.ai today.
Click the link in the description below to schedule a demo with Track today.
Yeah, so we've got ours coming up here mid-October. So it's October 15th through the 17th. Obviously all of our members are invited to come. It's free of charge for them. They just pay for their travel. But kind of, I'd say we roll our conferences out a little bit differently. So obviously, being a MarshBerry company, we have a ton of industry information, industry data. So that's a big part of a lot of our general sessions and keynote speakers, whether it's John Wepler or Phil Trem doing kind of the state of the industry conversation and dialogue. So we have a lot of information around that where we're really helping our members and consulting with them. And then the rest of the sessions are full of breakouts. So whether we're doing a breakout on our technology council and learnings from that, we've got breakouts on, compensation, on growing commercial. So it's really, I would say, educational and consultative to our members that are there to try to help them in their strategies as they're building out their strategies for growth. And then obviously we have the trade show that's part of it as well. So we'll have a trade show with, I think we've got 77 to 80 carriers and strategic partners that will be there to network and interact with all of our members.
Who are some of the biggest vendor partner for First Choice MarshBerry?
Yeah, so we've got a lot. I mean, pretty excited so far since January. I would say we've kind of started from scratch on all of our strategic partners. So we're up to 21, I would say, strategic partners, and we'll probably end the year at around 35. But, as you look at kind of our strategy, we break it down into verticals too. So out of our strategic partners, I would say there's like 21 different, I'll say, verticals of potential partnerships that we're looking at today. I'll use AMS as an example. So there's a tremendous amount of AMS organizations out there. And, our goal, though, I would tell you, or at least my goal with strategic partners is not to partner with all of them. It's to partner with a couple key, like who's our members using the most. Those are the ones we really want to zero in on and focus on strategic partnerships there so that we can bring value to the partners and not water down the relationship. I mean, if I've got 10 partnerships in the AMS world, guess what? It's so watered down, we're not bringing value to our members in that space, nor that strategic partner. So we'll have 3 probably key strategic partners, maybe 4 in that AMS space. And I would say every vertical is kind of that same aspect of how do we have a select strategic partnerships in each vertical. But for me, the big ones are, if you look at AMS is a big one, obviously, and I would tell you Hawksoft, Vertafore are great partners, working with Applied to try to get that set up with Applied. Big one for us too has been Canopy Connect. That was probably the first strategic partnership that we signed up, and they've been a great partner so far. They bring a tremendous amount of value to agencies from that efficiency and technology standpoint from that aspect. So they've been a big hit. And then the other one's on the virtual employee space. So if you look at staffing is another kind of big issue in our industry right now. I think what is the stat? You see it all the time. It's like 400,000 people are leaving our industry in the next, within the next 5 years. So, I mean, there's a huge need on that aspect. So we're really zeroed in on that virtual employee space, which my time at Edge kind of gives me just a little bit of history or a little knowledge in that space to be able to kind of vet those out. But we've got a couple good strategic partners in that aspect as well.
Let's talk about growth of First Choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys kind of came out of nowhere, it just popped on the list. What makes you guys different? Because there's a lot of, aggregator space is maybe one of the most competitive cutthroat space.
Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot of answers to that question, but I mean, I would say that probably the easiest thing I think that differentiates us is how we work with our members. So, we don't take any ownership of the book. We don't take commissions, anything like that. Our goal is really to help. If you look at it, our culture, when MarshBerry acquired First Choice, I mean, the cultures just, I think, merged together perfectly. So our real goal is for our members, how do we help them learn, improve, and realize kind of their strategy and revenue that they can reach as an agency. So everything we do is really focused around that. We have our 4 key pillars of, helping with carrier access and driving revenue, but education and technology and resources are key components of what we try to provide as well. So it's kind of what led us into the strategic partnerships, as we built that out this year, is we just felt that was another resource that we could help provide and drive for our members. But I think the big differentiator for us, I think, is it's our people and how we really work with our members. So it's really that consultative approach, not being yes men to our agencies and to our members, but it's really, hey, what's their strategy? What's their why? Helping them understand that and figure that out, and then figuring out how First Choice and MarshBerry as an organization can help support them in that process. So we really consult with our members and try to help them on that strategy aspect to get where they want to be.
Pretty good answer. I'm sure you have done that question a couple times.
Yeah, question comes up a lot. Maybe I've rehearsed it a little bit, but and honestly, I wouldn't even say rehearsed it. It's more of just, it's easy to talk to. I mean,
yeah,
when you look at what we're trying to provide and how we support our members, I mean, it's easy to talk to all that when it's kind of our foundation of what we do. And we have had success with it. I mean, I would say over the last 3 years, we've grown tremendously in that space, and we're not a one size fits all. I mean, we are selective in who we partner with and that aspect to make sure that it's a right fit. Is it a right fit for First Choice, but also is it a right fit for the agency? You got to make sure that they're making, provide everything you can and be open and honest with them to make sure that they're making the right choice and decisions of partnering up with the right group.
So do you touch the carrier side, Al, or are you mostly on the software and vendor side?
I would say software vendor side. We've got up here Mike Hazelden, who is our VP of Carrier Relations. So he kind of works with our carriers. Keith Captain, who's our president, does as well. I do have conversations with a lot of I'll say insurtech type carriers that are coming up. So a lot of those from a technology standpoint will come my way to vet and have conversations with. And as we figure out, that's probably another thing too. When you look at carriers, obviously we've got 85 plus carriers, but we're very selective in who we partner with too. So it's one of those things of before you take a carrier out to your members, you want to make sure that they're financially strong, their products are good, their systems are good, and that it's not going to be somebody that you're taking out to your members in a year, they're not there anymore. So from that standpoint, I'll say we're patient investors when it comes to carrier partnerships to make sure that we're getting the right ones out there to our members.
It's been a rough 3 years for insurtechs, MGAs.
Yes. Carriers
we-
too.
Yeah, carrier too, right? But legacy carriers, at least they're sitting here with like 20 years of data.
Yeah.
They're sitting here with premiums that was underwritten before COVID of 2020. Well, a lot of listeners might not remember. There was a 9-month stretch where nobody was driving, and every carrier thought everybody was sitting at home every day. They lowered the home rates, and everybody thought nobody's gonna be driving. They lowered the auto rates, and at least most carriers, they had good amount of books that was pre-COVID underwriting, right? And a lot of insurtech that came in during that period, they had to compete with the lower premium underwriting.
Right.
And when the social inflation happened, they got slaughtered, and they're still recovering from the last 3 years.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think carriers across the board, you had all the issues with COVID and supply chains that were driving losses up, and then inflation on the property side, and really across the board. I mean, it took a while for everybody to kind of rebound from that a little bit. I think we're still struggling from it a little bit, actually.
Yeah, I think just thinking out loud in your shoes, you're probably going to see more insurtech MGAs come into the coastal space. The MGA for maybe commercial trucking, commercial auto space. Those are two areas that you see a lot of legacies going away from. That just opened the door for innovation. And hopefully we get some good ones, because the last 3 years, our industry just haven't had profit in the property space.
Yeah. You're spot on, Jeff. I mean, just look at the E&S and the wholesale market today too. I mean, there's more and more, whether it's personal lines or commercial, there's more and more going into that E&S space, which the benefit from that aspect is I think we're seeing a lot of more innovation and technology hitting that aspect, which is making it easier to write business in E&S and do business there than it was in the past. So, I mean, I think that's the positive side of it, but you are seeing, and I think we're going to continue. I don't think that's going to slow down. I think from a property market, you're going to continue to see that slide to that wholesale space.
There could be a lot of insurtech done in the E&S space with how underwriting is done, how new business be overridden, right? A lot of people don't understand E&S like $100 billion space.
Yeah. And it's going to keep growing.
One of the fastest growing segments.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So a year from now, I invite Jeff Pireu back on the podcast. For the next 12 months, what are some of the comfortable goals you have for yourself and uncomfortable goals you have for yourself?
Wow, it's a great question. One I got to think about. I mean, it's funny because as I jumped into strategic partnerships this year, I mean, we were really starting from scratch. So building out the strategy, what it was going to look like, even to the point of building out a contract and all that. I had my head down and focused so much on that. I mean, organizationally, if I look at where we're headed, it's, I would say, how have we expanded upon our strategic partnerships to continue to bring value? I would love to see things at a point that we're having so much success with our strategic partners. Not only, we've got agencies that want to join First Choice and MarshBerry left and right to take advantage of what we've been able to build out, and vice versa. We've got technology partners and service partners and vendors that that are knocking on the door because they want to partner with us because everything that we've built out and the value that we provide to them. So if I looked 12 months from now, all that stuff would be in place that's happening, that we've got tech and service vendors that just want to jump on board and be strategic partners with us because of the value we provide, and vice versa to agencies. Personally, it's just, that continued growth. I mean, talked a little bit when I was talking about my background. I mean, I've had kind of 2 stints at training organizations at Nationwide. So kind of learning is, I'll say, one of those things that's kind of always deep in my heart in regards to that aspect. So, I mean, I think to be successful, you're always learning. It's one of the things I talk to my kids about. I mean, I know when they were done with college, they were both like, "Oh, I'm done with school. I never have to go back to school." And it's like, well, you may not have to go back to school, but you're always learning. And I think people lose sight of that. So, I mean, for me, from a kind of a personal development, it's that continuous learning. It's that, always focusing on something to be better at. And I think sometimes we get so stuck with what we're doing on a daily basis, we forget about that. You forget the self development and the personal development from that standpoint.
That's a great answer. Jeff, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I am looking forward to maybe do more webinars and join panel thing with you. I think I have a couple ideas. I'm gonna go offline and I'll chat with you about, and maybe
Yeah.
we can have you come on a couple more podcasts.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the invite, Jeff. It was great catching up and chatting a little bit today.
Jeff, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.